So, shall we begin with the rant? Shall we begin with the rant, people? Shall we begin with the rant about episode 3 that is being re-released in theaters? Shall we? Yeah. You must be thinking, well, it's close to May the 4th, you are saying so because everyone says so. No. Contrary to most of the people who nowadays, sadly, online, at least the YouTubers precisely, are quite hypocrite about it. I'll tell you the truth of episode 3 back then, because it was, and it is, my favorite movie of all time. Contrary to most of them. Back then, that movie was criticized a lot. The main actor, called Hayden Christensen, pretty much famous now, everyone is praising him. They said that when he played as Anakin, he was not expressive enough, that he was like a stone. He was criticized a lot. That movie was hated back then, back in 2005. This is the truth. Then the hypocrite YouTubers will tell you, no, yes, I remember when I watched Revenge of the Sith, etc. Well, I not only watched the movie, I think it was 36 times, something like that. The only other one that I watched as many times was Yu-Gi-Oh! The Pyramid of Light. That was the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie that we had back then when I was a kid. But the other one was Revenge of the Sith, and I always loved the movie because it's actually, well, I won't tell you what it is because I want to get into it as part of something interesting. I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you in a minute why it is a timeless movie and so great. I always thought it was the greatest, better than the rest of them. I always loved the Clone Wars. It opened the possibility of having the Clone Wars then back in 2008. That was also criticized a lot. Of course, the originals, the Empire Strikes Back, it was pretty much the original idea along with A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, but they were the original idea. After that, Revenge of the Sith was, I think, in retrospective, was the best. I always thought it, but well, nowadays we have hypocrite YouTubers saying, "Ah, no, yeah, I was the first fan of Revenge of the Sith." Lie. Most people hated Revenge of the Sith back then because of what I said. Because they said the actor that played as Anakin, he wasn't expressive enough. Now I will tell you details that only a person that truly lived that era can pretty much tell you. And this is not gatekeeping. This is pretty much the truth. Most people won't be able to tell you these details, and you can see that I'll tell you without reading anything or reading a script like they do. So let's get to it.
There's no way we are keeping the gravestone low profile. If Arkham has agents here.
We'll rant about Revenge of the Sith now, people. Now that we've finished the analysis for today.
It's a haven for refugees fleeing Arkham's forces.
We'll be among friends. Mostly.
Tell your associates we've arrived.
They knew that days ago.
You want to explain how? Figures.
Tell us who your people are and how they know so much.
I think you'd rather hear that from them.
Command. Are we there yet?
Nice ship. Wish we could have it as a stronghold. I love the old school colors, like very old. Hey, I think this thing is drifting by now. Aha. Now this feels like that old episode from Young Justice from the second season when Lightning Lad finds his sister. So here they introduce new species there. that you could play as, I guess. Nice landing there, nice landing. Well, guess we know what driving a truck looks like. So massive. Good, good.
Move it, gawkers. Let us through. Mighty fine ship you got there. We'll be coming aboard.
You clearly don't know what you are doing.
If there's one thing I don't like, it's uninvited guests.
Ha! Captain! Outlander, my crew. The best engine burners in wild space.
You said you didn't know who they were.
You're lucky they weren't disintegrated.
Oh, lighten up already. Get up here, you mangy woolocks.
What? I don't get a saying in this?
Do I know you?
Name's Rollo. I served aboard Darth Mar's destroyer. We thought you died with him.
Ah, yes, of course. Yes, of course, the Republic guy. Well, perfectly done, yeah, from the previous chapter. These from the previous chapter, people. We saved this guy.
I may as well have.
Don't expect sympathy from me. A lot of good people died that day. You didn't give us enough time to make the escape pods.
Gotta be kidding, I saved your life.
You survived. Stop complaining.
They think you're a hero, but I know better.
Raylo! Get in here!
On my way!
I
I'm not
saved
the
you.
only one hiding things.
We share on a need-to-know basis. Koth's crew didn't need knowing.
Leave her out of any loop you want, but I always need to know.
I didn't want to bother you with mundane details. Next time I'll bore you to tears. I need to make contact with my network alone. Try to stay out of trouble.
So, what do we do now?
Where's Lana?
Excellent question.
My best engineer hasn't come back from a supply run to the free zone. It's a dodgy neighborhood if you catch my drift.
A black market. Rival syndicates disagree over who controls it.
They argue with blasters. I think she's in trouble, but we've got our hands full keeping the Gravestone's reactor stable.
You were hoping Lana could handle it, but she's gone.
I wouldn't bother you if it wasn't important, but I hate sending you in there alone.
Addendum. I will join you, Master.
My engineer's name is Tora. HK has her image in its databanks. She won't be hard to find. Tora has a big personality. She's surlier than a hungry rancor, but she's the best engineer you'll ever meet. Thanks for the help.
And when you're done, find me at these coordinates. I'll introduce you to my people.
So your people will different than his people? Everyone has their people here. Well, damn it.
join you, but not now.
Alright. Enough chattering. I'll keep the droid with me. Much better. Alright, the NPCs send you mails and etc. And whatever. So the entrance to this ship is massive. Can I mount? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I cannot mount in here. Alright. Whatever. This place seems massive. I love that color. I'll never get tired of it. So yeah, Revenge of the Sith, people. Revenge of the Sith. As I was mentioning. Revenge of the Sith. So,
I can't tell if it's impressive or
Revenge of the Sith. Contrary to what most poser YouTubers will tell you probably, now that they've watched the movie probably for the first time in their lives, or even so not, because pretty much it was heavily criticized back in 2005. I loved it, and I defended it, not online,
Skewered, fried, then roasted to
and in a lot of cases, people tell me now that you're crazy, that's good. Well, so, the first argument, let's get to the first argument of the rant, people. Revenge of the Sith was terrible because precisely Hayden Christensen, the one who played as Anakin, was unexpressive. So I just found word from T7 back from Sakula account for securing our swamp, blah 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 blah. Sakula networks are reporting, blah 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 blah. Yeah, well, part of a story plot. So I'll give you a detail that most people don't know and don't pay attention to. Don't know it. Because they didn't live it back then with Revenge of the Sith. In its 20th anniversary, precisely, they are not mentioning the key that made it so good. When they wrote the script of Revenge of the Sith, in case you're interested, everything that I'm going to tell you is from the Vault, the Star Wars Vault, 30 years Vault, that was released back in 2005, precisely. I think it was a bit later. I think it was 2007, 2008, something like that, or 2005. I don't remember if it was 2005 or 2008. But the name of the book is The Vault Collection Star Wars Legacy of 30 Years. All of what I'm going to tell you is from there. And there you can read, or be told by a true fan of the movie, like I am, because it's my favorite of all time, alongside Ender's Game, the book and the movie. Do you know why the script was so good? Because the writers of that movie, contrary to what they did in the previous 4 movies, because Attack of the Clones also followed this system, they established combat levels for the characters. Yes, all of the characters had predefined combat levels. Yes, before they even started recording the movie at all, before they started filming it. Just as an example,
shooting people in the streets. The only thing free in the free zone is a blaster bolt to the chest.
the Emperor Palpatine, and Yoda were level 10, the maximum level, from 1 to 10 it was. Anakin was, I think, a 7, and he got up to an 8 when he turned to the dark side, and Obi-Wan was a 9, or something like that, and whatever. So that was pretty much the idea. They took into account also another key of the success of Revenge of the Sith was the combat styles that the illiterates over at Disney forgot about them in episode 7, right? They straight up eliminated them. There were 7 original combat styles that also determined the speed, the defense, and the attack of the character. For example, the ones that you see in Star Wars: The Old Republic here, of the Juggernaut and of the Marauder, they are taken from there. They are taken from there, starting with Shicho, Soresu, Makashi. Those are not displayed here. Um, Ataru, Jangma, Shien as well, which was the one. I think Anakin was Jangma or Shien. Well, you can watch, you can also see them, the combat styles into. You can find the prevalence of what I'm telling you. You can see that it's true if you play Episode 3, the PS2 or Xbox original Xbox versions, in which the combos have those names. And there's yet another game called in the Wii, which is called Lightsaber Duels. Precisely. In that one, the combat styles of the characters, when you do the combos, are precisely taken from the original battle styles, lightsaber technique styles, that that the original crew over at Lucasfilms and Lucas Games had developed. That Disney, of course, Disney shut on all of them and didn't give a shit. Pretty much, that didn't give a shit. Didn't give a shit. And that's pretty much one of the reasons. So, personalized combat styles and power levels for all of the characters in the movie. So, the script already had a huge part of it sold by itself. Second, the elephant. Well, third, because the lightsaber styles would be another point. Third, let's address the elephant in the room. Hayden Christensen he wasn't expressive as an actor, a terrible flaw, and etc, etc, etc. So Hayden Christensen wasn't expressive as an actor, blah 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 blah. I'll bitch all day about Revenge of the Sith. This was 2005, now they are praising it. Now that they realize the shit Disney has turned this franchise into. Sorry if I'm being way too honest, people, but you know that I've said it several times. There's nothing more honest than an Italian or Spaniard. In that sense, we don't value hypocrisy that much at all. So I'll say it straight up. I'll say it straight up. They turned the franchise into a piece of shit, like that, pretty much, because of all of these reasons. Now, the elephant in the room. Hayden Christensen is an expressive, terrible actor, etc., etc. That was the idea. Well, first point, I don't give a flying, we have a bonus. Defeat free zone under bosses. I don't give a flying shit if the actor is unexpressive. You know why? Because he can play a role in which he has to be unexpressive for it. That leads me to the point that you don't need to be expressive to show empathy to the audience, which is what they are actually trying to convey with that critic, that he wouldn't have enough empathy for the audience, in that sense, that he wouldn't be, since he wasn't expressive, then the audience wouldn't feel empathy. It's the same as the shit argument that we get nowadays, that if a person if a story if a character in a video game or a movie doesn't say publicly that he's I don't know, gender fluid or whatever, he cannot be empathetic enough with other people. That is the problem. The writers and the illiterate individuals don't understand that empathy doesn't have to do with expressiveness. Charisma has to do with expressiveness, but not empathy. You can feel empathy for someone who is precisely unexpressive or blunt. And you might be thinking, no, it cannot be. I've been told for the last 20... It's like that. Because these people confuse charisma with empathy. That's the problem. Charisma is what they are trying to refer to. That being funny, being able to relate to people, but being able to attract people with knowing how to, for example, spark up a conversation or something like that. That is charisma. But then human beings can indeed feel empathy for someone who isn't expressive. For a character in this case. Let's not think about real people. Let's talk about characters in a book, movie, or video game.
Looks like someone wants to join our little party. As your host, I gotta warn you, things are gonna get rowdy.
Caution. My rowdy? I believe this big bag means to kill you, Master.
Yeah, you don't say. But as I've said, people, one can relate to an unexpressive character, even if it has no charisma. That is the key. As an example, take any villain like Darth Vader. That Darth Vader is the most loved Star Wars character ever, right? It is. And he doesn't precisely speak that much or expresses a lot. Besides with the mask, he doesn't have facial expressions. And yet we can relate to him. And when he takes out the mask in episode 6 and everything, that we can feel the love of a father for his son. In that sense, we can relate to him because that's the key. You can relate to a more serious character. That's the problem. These people, and I'll get to the real problem, people, which is that these people believe that a character needs to be a clown to be likable. That is the problem, because they confuse, as I said, remember this, they confuse charisma with empathy. They think that in order to be empathetic, you need to have charisma. Now, who do I blame for this? Well, the general degradation of culture that we've had in society in the last years. We are getting more in the terrain of politics in that sense. You know that I say from second to second, thanks Obama or something like that. I do believe that globalization combined with the socialist tendencies that we've had in the last years have led to this degradation. Of course, as I've said, um, I never say that someone should be a jackass. Don't be a jackass, as always. But I think society already knew that they didn't need to be jackasses back then, back in 2008 when Obama won the election. Pretty much and influenced the rest of the world with the, let's say, the culture wars that were happening in the US between the Democrat Party and the Republicans, precisely. And the key is that, as a consequence of that, what I notice is that people think that in order to be empathetic, you have to be charismatic, and that's completely false. Because human beings have the capacity to be empathetic, to feel empathy for someone, to feel empathy for someone, pretty much, without him being a clown or the most charismatic thing they've ever stumbled upon. That is the key. And they are unable to tell the difference. All of the people that criticized Revenge of the Sith because of that, they were unable to tell the difference between those two things. We're getting more into a psychological ground and more into cultural and political ground, but it's required in this case, people, as you know, from time to time. So that is the key. I already gave you technical reasons as to why it was so good. Fourth reason why Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie ever, alongside Ender's Game. Of course, that one is my favorite book ever, in that sense. Do you know why Revenge of the Sith is timeless and we can relate to a less expressive character without any kind of issue? Well, pretty much, as I've said, because you can feel empathy for someone who is unexpressive, because human beings understood since the dawn of time the problem of universals that I've explained precisely in the channel. Back then, it was a philosophy problem. It was a philosophical problem, sorry, that the Greeks had back when they discovered logic and consciousness. For those of you who don't know about universal history, no worries about it. Uh, it was first the Egyptians. We are talking about influential civilizations. Then we had the Assyrians, other civilizations. But think of it: Egypt first, very influential with commerce and the most basic survival instinct. Then Greece, and Greece created Western culture pretty much through the discovery of both logic and consciousness. Yes, before the Greek, we couldn't talk to our consciousness. I know that nowadays it's very difficult to imagine that you cannot talk to yourself, but that was the case. They weren't aware of their own consciousness. It was there, it biologically developed throughout the evolution period of the world, but they weren't so aware of it. The Greek were the ones that made it, that made people be so aware of it. And then the Romans were the body. We, the Italians, pretty much us. We were the pretty much the body, the embodiment of that Greek spirit, pretty much in Italy. But let's get to Greece. In Greece, you know that there were a lot of poets and a lot of tragedies, a lot of Greek tragedies. Revenge of the Sith is a copy of millions and millions of books, theater plays, and etc. that were Greek tragedies, like the Trojan horse, like the heroes of the old Odyssey, the old Greek Odysseys that were so dramatic, and etc. 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 So that's why, there it is, the pirate leader. So that's why Revenge of the Sith is also timeless, not only because of the perfect technique in measuring the character's powers before the script was created, not only because the lore was consistent with the rest of the media at its time, with the video games and etc., not only because of the amazing special effects that it had, very advanced for that time, but because it's a timeless story of a Greek tragedy of a man losing his wife that nowadays, sadly, because of the cancel culture, because of all of the things that we see nowadays, it would be impossible because they would say it's a patriarchy or some shit like that, just because Anakin wants to save his beloved one and then he ends up killing her and whatever, etc., etc., etc. The things that you know. That's why it's timeless. That's why it will always be better than episode 7, 8, and 9. That's why. I won't say that it's better than the first 3 original movies, because without them, Revenge of the Sith wouldn't have existed in that sense. Because but it's my personal favorite. So, it's a Greek tragedy. It's a Greek tragedy. You can read it. You can read several Greek tragedies like that in any Greek Odyssey. There are modern books that interpret them, and even the originals one. And also the philosophy. You know why at the end of the day it's better? Because of the philosophy. Because at the end of the day, Revenge of the Sith is an extremely conservative movie. At the end of the day, believe it or not. You might think, are you going crazy? Yes, because at the end of the day, it doesn't relativize evil. You can clearly and define, and in a very defined way, tell when Anakin goes bad. Evil. Yeah, I need to be careful. Yeah, that's why I wanted to interrupt that snipe. Evil, good and evil are perfectly defined in Revenge of the Sith. You can see perfectly the moment in which Anakin turns into a psychopath killer. I've said this several times. In modern movies, you do think this is normal. Think of it like this. Think of this universally. This is what most people don't do. They do relativist analysis. As I always say, most people do relativist analysis. That I've always explained about Immanuel Kant and how Immanuel Kant undermined in the 1700s the objective meaning of the words with Nietzsche and everything. And Revenge of the Sith is so good because it's an eminently conservative movie, because it's metaphysically realist. It's metaphysically realist. Why? Because you can clearly, evil and good are clearly defined. You can clearly see the moment in which Anakin turns into a psychopath killer. Do this analysis universally, people. In most modern movies, post modern culture wars, etc., I won't get into that, however you want to call it, retrospectively, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, and 2000 years of history of humanity and even beyond, if they would watch, imagine for a second this crazy scenario, they would watch one of our modern movies post Obama administration with the culture wars. They would instantly, 90% of them, let's say that let's be generous and say that there's a 10%, I'm being quite generous, that there's a 10% of people who think the following is not like this. 90% of them, I guarantee you, they would think they are psychopaths. The bad guys erase, or well, then the movie did its job. No, 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 not the bad guys. The good guys would be considered psychopaths. Do you know why? Because they don't express empathy at the end of the day. They don't express empathy. They say they look friendly, they look friendly, they look friendly, they want to present them as friendly. Very good. But you can tell instantly, that inside they are actually playing a hypocrite role, the character in the movie. You can tell it perfectly. And most of the audience realizes it. And the second they realize that they are being hypocrites, the characters, because the actors are somehow defined by the societal rules that draw that line in real life. You can instantly tell that they cannot take them seriously, because the audience at the end of the day realizes that they're lying to them pretty much. Pretty much. So that is the key. They look empathetic nowadays. They look like they have empathy, but they feel soulless. They feel that they aren't sincere about what they are saying. That they are saying it to cover a quota of goodwillism or something like that. And then, after that, immediately after that, they go crazy and they start killing everyone around them because, I don't know, they didn't tell them their correct pronouns or whatever. It happens in Far Cry. Before you think it's a joke, it happens in Far Cry. And you will see how bad it is. Because the producer of another series called Andor, precisely episode 3 of Andor, another Star Wars series that is playing alongside the relaunch of Revenge of the Sith, alongside it, he said that up until now in history, he said this, you can Google it online. He said basically that we all, as a society, men and women, right now, the ones that, all of us that we are alive right now, right? That we are all the result of RAPES. I cannot say the word because over at YouTube it could be, they could, they would instantly ban the whole video and my channel would be even more unknown than it could potentially be because of me saying all of these things. We are all the result of those horrible acts, right? Like, up until now, we were all savages and we are all the result of that. That's what the producer of Andor said after the series, of course, is going to shit because they have no talent, actually, sadly, because of all of the things that I'm saying, that they create empathetic characters on the surface, but then you don't need even to scratch deep inside. They don't feel genuine. They don't feel genuine. That is the huge problem of movies nowadays, and only that's why older actors have such a difference in quality with modern actors, because also they changed acting has changed from exaggeration, which was common up until now, to, let's say, trying to simulate realism. They try to act natural, but that's the key. They're still acting natural. They are not. They are not. So, I would take Hayden Christensen acting naturally, even if he's a bit more unexpressive, any day than all of these modern actors. That is the key. That now one will, most people, most streamers and YouTubers won't have, sadly, they wouldn't have the courage to say it in fear of getting cancelled or some shit like
You could
that.
have just knocked. My men spent hours on that barricade.
I like to make an entrance.
Identification. That snort issued from the brilliant engineer we were sent to rescue, Master.
What's she to you?
She's the reason I'm here. This doesn't have to get messy. Let her go and I'll be on my way.
You eliminated my old rival, Argo. That inclines me toward gratitude. But this girl tried to rob me. That's bad for business.
Charging 50,000 credits for 100 thermal detonators? That's robbery.
You also insulted my mother.
I said she's uglier than a bantha wearing lipstick. It's not an insult if it's true.
My mother died putting me on a refugee ship to Nar Shaddaa. I grew up an orphan.
Oh, boo-hoo didn't. Join the club.
You see why I have to kill her?
Yes. What I said 2 minutes ago, we could just verify it. Psychopath. See? Psychopath. Right there. And she's meant to be part of the good guys. So she robbed, she insulted his mother, etc, etc, etc. I agree with the guy 100%. Kill her, please. Sadly, I don't have. See, we don't have the option to make him kill her or kill her ourselves. See, there you can see the bias. That character is acting like a psychopath, pretty much. Pretty much, it's like that. I won't even comment on the blue hair, but well, everyone has a right to have blue hair. That one is okay. But there you can see it. Our parents, grandparents, everyone would think that that character is a psychopath. I bet that character made my point entirely.
I recognize that insignia on your armor. Republic Special Forces. Havoc Squad.
Haven't run with that outfit for a long time. I'd paint over the symbol, but it still comes in handy, even out here. And I know who you are, too. Everyone said you were dead, but I knew better. What do you say we show each other professional courtesy? I can get you all kinds of things, but I need to throw this thieving scum out an airlock first.
Theory. It will be a challenge to throw anything without your arms.
Oh, yes. Ah, no, but we don't get the option to kill her. We don't get the option to kill her. Sad. Sad. We don't get the option to kill her. To kill the lousy mouth insulter there.
I'll get you the money for your detonators. But Tora is leaving with me. Alive.
A man like me can't afford to look weak.
So?
What do you care? You're the Free Zone's new boss.
Fine. Take the yapping monkey lizard. But she's lost her shopping privileges.
Keep your filthy hands off me!
All right, boys. Let's go show the zone who's in charge.
What a waste of time.
Can I shock her? This is precisely the archetype of of character that I despise, and not because of the hair, people, because you say that I'm a terrible conservative or anything. No, it's because of how ungrateful complainer.
Shut your mouth and get to the docks. Koth is waiting.
Oh, so scary.
Redirection. We should proceed to the rendezvous with Senya Master.
Let's do it. Well, there you had the perfect example, people. There you had the perfect example. They proved my point. Data crystal exchange. What? What can you buy from this shit? I don't know what that shit may be. Oh well. Hey, we got a GTN terminal here. Nice. Kitty Kiss is training you in part of the spy. Hello, Kitty Kiss. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's the first time I meet you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for that huge raid. Hello from the bottom of my heart. Hello, you play the game. You're an old-time SWTOR player. You're an old-time SWTOR player. Hello. Hello, you're an old-time SWTOR player. Oh, thank you for being the 35th follower of the channel. Then there it is. The message displays. Hello, how's it going? Thank you. A pleasure meeting ya. You play the game. You like Star Wars: The Republic, an old-time player, or maybe a newcomer to the game. I was having a rant about Revenge of the Sith, precisely with the re-release in theaters and everything. Going well, thanks. Oh, well, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Whenever someone rates me, I always love it. Well, I'm a returning player from 2015. Don't know if you played this game. Pretty much, I love it. I do metaphysical analysis here on the channel. Today I was analyzing, to bring you up to speed, and the rest of the years I analyze games, basically, with a metaphysically realist system, precisely.
Where we are supposed to meet Senya Master.
Precisely, now that HK stopped talking, precisely, called scholasticism. Go to run, have a fun stream. Ciao for now. Thanks, Turtle. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I deeply thank you and for everything. Then I'll return the favor and follow. Lurk, yeah. Then I'll return the favor and follow you back. I always do that when someone raises me. Always have that tradition here. So yeah, pretty much. To anyone who wants to say, I analyze games. I analyze things like the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. In this case, the differences between Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age Origins, compared to Dungeons and Dragons 4.0, for example. In the case, for those of you who don't know, World of Warcraft inspired Dungeons and Dragons 4.0, contrary to what happened with 3.5. Which was the tabletop inspiring the video games. In the case of this one, of 4.0, the game World of Warcraft inspired the tabletop game. In that sense, today I have been talking about the replayability that farming provides as a gameplay mechanic in the framework of the level design in Dungeons & Dragons 4.0, contrary to 3.5. Think about Baldur's Gate, in which the replayability is tied to the storyline. In the case of Star Wars: The Old Republic, I don't know if anyone played the game. It is an MMORPG, but it has the classic BioWare component of the story that I'm exploring, that I couldn't explore back in 2015, in that sense.
Let us see where it leads.
Well, as you can see, that guy that you see there is the main plot of the, supposedly, for those of you who don't know, Knights of the Old Republic 3 that was going to happen after Knights of the Old Republic 2, was going to be the real Sith Lords that you would have to confront then. But the thing is that the game got cancelled, turned into an MMORPG, and it's Star Wars: The Republic, the game of the category. Basically, I told the story of the book Revan. Everyone read the book Revan. That is actually Knights of the Republic 3. The Jedi Knight story in this game is Knights of the Republic 4, tied to this character. I won't do spoilers. After playing the Jedi Knight story, this guy is the main protagonist of Knights of the Fallen Empire. And, well, he's part of the plot. You have all of the whole story. I won't do spoilers for any of you. I won't ruin the story for any of you. So that's the idea. We are, let's say, fighting him. Just like that.
Before Arkan's betrayal, Zakul was protected by two orders, the Knights and Scions who see visions of the past and future. Scions no longer serve Arkan. Whether they serve you will be determined now.
Fate is a tale whispered to us by the Force, but the voices are silent about you. We must know why.
Heskel?
Visions are only suggestions for the future. I'm defined by my actions in the present, not some foretold prophecy.
Here you can see I
If we are to
explained
aid
this.
you in rebellion, we must understand what role you play in Arkan's defeat. We will test you physically and spiritually.
Oh, nice combat.
Pierce the veil and see the truth.
You aren't the first person who's wanted to test me.
This will be different.
I tie my fate to yours. I join you in these trials, come what may.
Uh-huh.
The heart of Skyva is heavy with loss. In her pain, we lash out.
I do miss the old ways of Zakul. Such mythology and pageantry.
Please, defend yourselves.
Gladly, indeed. Very well, let's do it. So as I was mentioning today, I've been analyzing how replay... That was fast. What the... Ah, well, this is interesting. Couldn't even fucking move. This is interesting. So, and my gear is at the maximum. Are they 75? No. Perhaps I had to target the other one. There's some kind of mechanic. I'll leave this here. Just so you know, I'm capped at 70, so I'm playing... I kind of like left the game frozen in time, and I'm replicating the original difficulty. In terms of the analysis, people, the idea is that... Let's use some mechanics here. Ah, it has a death field there. Okay. Hey, they deal a lot of damage, that's for sure. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't expect that. They definitely updated the difficulty for level 80 or some shit like that. I think if I kill one, it should be enough. Right? Yep, it's enough. Yeah, it's definitely terrible here. The idea is that in Dungeons & Dragons 4.0, there's an element of replayability that I've been explaining, inherited from South Korean MMORPGs. Think about, for example, you could bring another examples, but one could be...
Need assistance! Steel yourself!
But one... God damn it. Lineage 2, precisely, that I was mentioning, that they are so grindy. Maybe I need to repair my gear or some shit like that. Let me get to my stronghold for a sec, or do I have enough to repair my gear? In that sense, Lineage 2, it's so grindy because of the culture of Korean MMORPGs. It's so grindy. How much do I need? 80. Okay, let me grab some credits. It's so grindy, so incredibly grindy, that it enhances replayability a lot. And I have been mentioning this. Replayability by itself is always highly positive to games, because the games that we remember the most are the ones that we play the most. That's how the brain operates, how it generates dopamine. I've explained this, the psychological impacts of playing games. In that sense, I analyzed that with the main core developer of Dungeons and Dragons, Dragon Shard, and precisely even cast Rise of the Mage as well. Let me take some creds here. So incredibly, MMORPGs, Dungeons and Dragons 4.0 is the most replayable out of all of these RPG genres. There's a lot of endgame content and etc. And we remember them so much because of that. In 3.5 in Baldur's Gate, once you finish the main story, and I say this having played Baldur's Gate with the Throne of Ball difficulty, and it was quite amazing. Now that's something that you don't see every day. Nice. Why did I appear there? The key is that replayability is tied to the storyline. Think about Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Knights of the Republic, Jade Empire, Mass Effect. Wouldn't it be great if you could... Where am I? Play the chapter. I guess this will take us there. That should take us there, right? Yeah, it takes us there. It's not tied in Dungeons & Dragons 4.0. It's not tied the replayability with the story. Imagine if we could, in Baldur's Gate, after we finish the main story, after we beat Sarabok, pretty much, that we could keep playing like in Skyrim, for example. Think about it like that. Wouldn't it be great? Well, yes, that's the huge flaw of Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. That once you finish, I think the fight was bugged because I think it wasn't meant to spawn those two guys then. And in that sense, it would be amazing. There we go. Now I can. The second I can detonate my dots, it will be game over. Ah, it's because of that. 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 It's because I teleported outside back then. That's the key. There we go.
Greater power than destiny. They cannot believe you exist outside its influence.
All right.
But we know better.
There we go. It wasn't that bad. Yeah, I should have targeted the other one the first time. Sorry, first time I'm doing this. It's the first time I'm playing the storyline since 2015. I only PvP'd. My specialty is player versus player combat in that sense. And I only PvP'd back then, so I didn't do the story at all. Ready for next trial.
Let's continue.
Hunger. Overconfidence. You were more tolerant in the free zone, despite the fools you suffered.
You were watching me.
Let me
You're
remove.
always watching. Arkan took away years of your life, but he stole far more from the rest of us. Do you feel anything for those who suffered while you slept?
No one deserves what Arkan's done. But he's earned what's coming, and I'll make sure he gets it.
And you, Senya, what do you feel?
Shame.
Because you failed to protect our immortal emperor?
Well, here you can see a
I was
perfect
in no
influence of
position
Mass
to do
Effect.
that.
What of the
Anything.
scions who were slaughtered by your fellow
like-
knights because Arkan demanded it?
The same
Do you
technique,
feel responsible for them?
and it's an
When I joined the
MMORPG.
Knights, they
Something
were shields
uncommon.
protecting our home world.
That's what makes it so
While our weapons
special.
wielded by an insane child.
Alright, then they died with Arkan.
Die with their leader. End of story.
You would destroy an order that has stood for over 1,000 years?
Well,
The
they did
Knights
attack the
should have
Empire
rebelled
first.
against Arkan. Instead, we have lost our honor.
The eyes of Esne claim what can never belong to her.
They speak of envy, my son's weakness. Do not let it be yours.
We
We receive no pleasure from this trial, but we act as fate demands. Be strong, Outlander.
Alright. Second trial. Here we go, people. Let's see what we can do. Well, that one is evident. With this rotation I managed to synchronize my death marks, so it should be quite good. Huh? So they are doing a lot of damage. And I should be at... Ah, they pull you. It's just that the animation is bagged. They have that problem. So, going back to the analysis, people, the idea is that MMORPGs have the concept of farming, and that enhances replayability a lot when compared to Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. Now, let's take a look at the negative aspect of it. Think about, as I've said, in South Korean culture, the usage of money and microtransactions is seen as a valid way to power, something that here in the West we see it as terrible. But it's like that. I saw it written by a Korean player, pretty much, that it was a valid way, pretty much. It was a valid way, microtransactions, to be good at a game. Now, from the perspective of the West, in our case, in the Americas and in Europe, that might look terrible. Shit. That might look terrible. It is terrible for us. It looks terrible. Because we value being good at the game through ability. That is the key. And while that is a component in South Korean MMORPGs, the reality of the situation is that economic, let's say, an economic advantage is also valid for them. Of course, for us it's a sacrilege in a lot of cases, without a doubt. But it is. That's why they are so grindy. Why the MMORPGs are so grindy. And why do I say this? Well, because precisely it's... Alright, I have to interrupt that shit. Because it plays a role. It plays a role at the end of the day. Why am I mentioning it? Because it does play a role. MMORPGs are so addictive because they are grindy. That's the positive aspect. I mean, not flooding it with microtransactions, but that grindiness is what makes them so interesting in a lot of cases. So it's a force crash, the one that I have to interrupt, and I will trigger Unity this time to grant myself 50% more defense. Yes, also as we are squishy. 1 second, that one. What if I stay here? Alright, that's how it killed my companion there. That's how it killed it. Okay. Let the dots do their job. Let me detonate them. That should be enough. There we go, yeah. Do I have to revive her? Yeah, I have to revive her. Pretty much like that. So that is the key. What's the negative aspect? Well, we can see it in any South Korean MMORPG, people. When it gets to the point of absurdity, of being absolutely absurd, then, of course, microtransactions are a pile of shit, indeed. Of course, they are a pile of shit, without a doubt. When it gets precisely out of hand and etc. Now, the perfect formula should be that there should be no microtransactions. It should rely on skill 100%. Precisely that grindiness, that feeling of grindiness that causes so much addiction for the players. It should be there. The RPG in its level design should be grindy, but not to the point of absurdity, because then it discourages the player. And of course it shouldn't be based on money, but rather on skill, of course. So would it be grindy, the perfect formula? Yes, of course, it has to be grindy. Imagine an MMORPG in which there's no grinding, in which there are no mobs to farm. Imagine that. It would turn into a classic RPG, more like Baldur's Gate. And you could argue, someone could argue at this point, precisely, I was including this as part of the talking points. Someone could say, well, but in Baldur's Gate you actually farm experience. Yes, you farm experience, but not the loot system of the game. right? You can have one special loot from one dragon or something like that. But vendors, and this is related to what we analyzed in on Tuesday with Dragons and One, the Dark Eye, great Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 game, of how useful you make vendors in the framework of the item system of the game.
The Scions are driven by revenge, but they require fate's compliance. We are above such negotiations. Destiny is merely the conduit for our will.
Alright. I mean, the repair costs for this is getting out of hand. So, what's the key here? The item system in 3.5, in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, gives a bit more of relevance to vendors, is more balanced. In MMORPGs, let me remove the chat so the cinematic plays. Vendors are useless. See how interesting? That has a lot of implicacies.
I'm living proof that all you need is faith.
I'd say you're living proof that Miss Spooky Eyes is a lot more patient than she looks.
Isn't there anything you still need to fix around here?
Nope. I'm just too good at my job.
I found HK wandering Asylum with no memory of anything since he left.
I mean, that's probably bad. Where's the Outlander?
Exactly.
Senya wanted your friend in HK to meet her contacts. She gave them coordinates to the location.
Apology. I have no such data stored in memory.
Senya, I knew it.
I believe her contacts are the real danger. HK, what's the first thing you remember after you woke up?
And then they will probably come to rescue us. Ah. I won't interrupt the cinematic, people. Then it's the first time I'm watching it as well. Oh, he's beaten up.
You seek to remove Archon from the Eternal Throne. As well you should.
So...
His destiny is to fall. We have foreseen that much, but his final fate remains unclear. When he is at your mercy, what will you do?
Aha! So we have to make decisions to influence the story. See, this is the beauty of this game. It inherits the best elements of BioWare storytelling from classic RPGs like Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, combined with the perfect combat system of tap targeting in MMORPGs. Of course, we'll destroy the brat traitor.
I don't know the meaning of the word. Archon will not escape.
A lot of people also use this game to roleplay as Sith and Jedi.
1,000 Scions lie dead because of him. Blood calls out for blood. Do you agree?
Internal affairs.
Answer us!
Within their political structure.
Question her commitment to them, because they cannot foresee it. Ask yourself why.
If you are not with us, you stand against the tides of destiny. Archon and Valen must die.
Yes, indeed, they are two tyrants. Well, but we're still a Sith Lord in this situation of getting into unknown territory. Since I don't know them, we'll go with this one.
Second guess whether or not we need you.
You act as if you have a choice. We know our part. It's yours that must be revealed.
They are like seers. Uh-huh.
I will know your fate, even if I must tear you open to see it.
Isn't this the guy that... Ah, well. Nope. Interrupt. We'll see about that. By the way, I'm playing on Master difficulty. I should have included it in the title. And with a level cap, so that's why it is a real challenge. I truly enhanced the gameplay mechanics in that sense. Because it's the original challenge that it was back then. Back when the level cap was 70. Debris storm, okay. perfect mmorpg mechanics in that sense. Alright, that one was easier. But he was at half health. Then we'll resume the analysis once the cinematic is over. Just one second. I don't like interrupting the cinematics.
Is pointless and destructive. I can end this without any more bloodshed. If you accept the gift of my power.
Not again. Not again. It's part of the plot. It's part of the plot. I presume he's trying to take over our body. I don't know it. I haven't played the story and I haven't done spoilers at all. So this time we'll refuse it. Some minutes ago I accepted it.
I'll handle him myself.
Then stop wasting time. Reveal his fate.
Though I don't know why it gives you light side points in that sense. We keep going, right? Second round. Second phase. I told you that I revamped my gear, people, huh? I revamped my gear. I have a better global cooldown. Oh. Stop him. There we go. I have a better global cooldown. With a bit more of alacrity. That's a stat that we need to analyze in terms of the...
Choice is an illusion.
Oh boy. Well, not much I could do about that. Yeah. Yeah, I should probably include in the title that I'm playing on Master Mode with the level capped. Like it was back in 2015. But well. I always love a good challenge. Maybe if I... Is there any... Yeah, let me do a bit of a modification there. That one is better for PvE. I generally have it for PvP. And let me place this here. And let me repair my gear. Though I had it repaired back then, right? Yeah. Let me use a different strategy because now the bubble will stun when it bursts. Then if anyone has any doubt, I can explain the combat system of the game or everything. I presume you all are players of the game, or that at least you spend some time with the game if you're newcomers. But any question asked away, I have no problems answering them. I know that my crazy panels sometimes with the analysis methodology and the philosophy and everything, they sound crazy to a lot of people, but that is the case. I have no worries. I should include AKA as part of the stream of Ask Me Anything. I always forget to include it in the title, in that sense. But yeah, pretty much the idea in terms of the analysis is that... And now, we do it like this, though it wasn't it. And now the bubble should stun him. Ah, Vision of Darth Mar. Very well done. Alright, where's the real one? I probably shouldn't have... There we go. Got him. Sorry, by the way, that the soundtrack doesn't play. It's full of Star Wars copyrighted music. It's kind of like a one-way ticket to have your YouTube channel banned.
Judge him harshly. This trial was necessary for all of us. We need the Scions.
If they are willing to betray the brat emperor that remained in power, for sure.
Still want to help us, I accept.
But careful what you do.
Stand down now.
Oh, right at the right moment, right on time. Be smart about this.
You need the Force to see what happens next. Put down your weapons.
Very good facial expressions for 2011, or 2015 in this case. Very, very good.
Entered. Even this one was predestined. Everyone here played the role fate assigned them. I ask you a final question. What future do you see for this galaxy when Archon and his eternal fleet are gone?
Oh, that one is easy. The Empire rises
The
again.
Empire can bring order to the chaos Archon has caused.
The Empire is crippled by power-hungry fools. I abandoned it for a reason.
You have nothing further to reveal. I now know what blinded us to the future. Our immortal Emperor lives inside your mind.
Yeah, that's
It
his
couldn't stay
trick.
secret forever.
You knew about this and didn't tell me?
We thought you'd panic if I said, hey, Emperor Valkorian's living inside my head.
Analysis. Scan reveals no evidence you possess a secondary personality matrix, Master. It is possible your brain is simply malfunctioning.
Our duel gave me a glimpse of what's to come. You will destroy the Eternal Throne, but many will suffer before that victory.
Look at this dialogue line. People get hurt. Nothing new. A lot of people like choosing those to roleplay as a Sith, for example. Well, what about this one?
Let me guess. Your vision didn't specify who suffers, or how long defeating Archon will take.
Ah, smart ass response.
If Emperor Valkorian lives because of this Outlander, there's hope for Zakul.
Your beloved immortal Emperor is a threat to all life everywhere. We must find a way to separate you from him.
It's not that simple. First, we need to win this war.
No one wants Valkorian out of my head more than I do. But removing him won't be easy.
We have a lot to discuss.
Not here. I passed your test. Join us or don't. Either way, we're done.
There is one truth left to reveal. I withheld the true reason I followed you through the trials, to understand the Outlander, who will destroy Archon and Valen, my son and daughter.
Ah, nice.
She told you. How delightful.
Ah, she's the mother of the brats. Ah, nice twist. Well. Nice twist. I wasn't expecting that. It's like I'm your father, but reversed. Well, nice touch there in terms of the storyline.
I killed 3 knights.
There
to
they
make
are,
sure
people.
They weren't lying. And another 3 because I hate odd numbers. The Outlander escaped in the gravestone with our mother's help. She's against us.
Senya was always strong-willed. That's why Father left her.
Do you think she knows he's alive? Has she betrayed us for him?
Would you look at that, people?
Matter. She'll return to us. We'll face the consequences.
We don't need
Wasn't
them.
expecting that.
Our parents
Huh.
gave us the power to forge the future. They should have known we'd use it.
So it was their mother. Okay, that makes sense. Well, this is like I'm your father, but reversed in that sense. Very well done. Well, this is something that I've been commenting related to Dragon Sun 1, The Dark Eye, and Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, and pretty much older games. Think about Metroid Prime, for example, a great example of it. That older games, think about 6th generation, 5th generation, but mostly 6th generation, 7th generation, the story wasn't that linear. You could see that in Dragon Sun 1 on Tuesday. People, well, for newcomers, sorry, I play another game called Dragon Sun 1. It's like Baldur's Gate, pretty much. And you could have basically, as a very brief summary, before we continue a second, because I also analyze the storylines, a character that appeared, hello, it's Sire. Is that Arthas behind you though? Digs out for Arthas. Yes, it's mine. I have more. I generally don't show this. No one ever asks on stream. Yeah, because I have my own offline reverse engineered World of Warcraft server. This was my first MMORPG ever. I loved it so much. Star Wars: The Republic is my favorite game. You can read from the panels. And yeah, it's not, you cannot buy it. I committed it to be made. I have others. I think I can show you. I never showed this on stream. I have more there. I bet you can see them. I bet you can see them there about Blizzard games, and of course Link and Halo, and they are Kratos from God of War. They represent the three. I think I never showed this even to my followers, so thanks for asking. Yeah, it kind of like represents the three main consoles back then. I got the Deathwing poster from Blockbuster. Ah, yes, Halo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, they are not for Blockbuster. I made them. I ordered them being made, and I of course paid for them in that sense. I made them. Yeah, I have my own offline World of Warcraft server, reverse engineered, that I played after this game. I loved this game so much that I wanted to investigate the roots of the genre. Dungeons and Dragons 4.0, as I have been mentioning. I also love Halo. I finished. I think the camera was like that, more or less. Yeah, more or less. Then if it's wrong, then I fix it. Knights of the Koth. Ah, from you play SWTOR. You are an old player of SWTOR. Yeah, this Koth. I just met him. I'm a returning player, as you can read, and I just stumbled upon him. I just stumbled upon him. He's kind of like grumpy, if I had to say. He's grumpy. For me, all of these characters are new. I just discovered that this one is the mother of Arkan. I just discovered it.
What did you see in Valkorion that you had children with him?
You say he was a homicidal tyrant.
So you're an old player.
I knew.
Koth is a moral busybody. Yeah, he's like that classic engineer. Where are you from, though? You have it in the panels. Ask me anything. I am Argentine from the Americas, but I'm an English teacher besides scholastic philosopher and software developer. And I was lawyer, but I didn't work as lawyer. I'm from Argentina, from the Americas, the Antarctic winters, quite terrible, just as bad as in the north. But yeah, from Argentina, but I'm also Italian. I have dual citizenship. Argentines are basically Italians who speak Spanish, basically, just to have a very brief idea. So I will have dual citizenship, and I'm also Italian. I kind of like vote in the European Union elections in Italy and in Argentina. It's basically like that. Argentines are Italians, contrary to Mexicans that, for example, are more Spaniards. In that sense, we are mixed, like in Canada with the French and the British. English teacher, yeah, you have a good way about when it comes to English. Well, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah. I even had to. I take even accent elimination classes. That's the key that a lot of non-native speakers make a mistake, because Spanish has an accent, Italian has an accent, and all of the languages that are Romance languages derived from the old Roman Empire. For those of you who don't know, basically you have to know all of this stuff. Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, they all derive from the Roman Empire. Then Germanic languages, German, and even, let's say, Viking-derived languages, to put it bluntly. It's even longer, sorry. But pretty much they all have their accents, and you have to eliminate them. I mean, I'm not a native speaker either. Not trying to... No worries. I have a lot of native speakers as viewers, and I even sometimes ask them if the accent feels natural or not, to have feedback. No. Even if someone criticizes saying your accent is shit, no. It's like that. Well, in my case, because of one of my jobs, I should it should be perfect. Not that it is. Even I make mistakes in 4 hours, because consider this, people, because sometimes I make mistakes in 4 hours of a stream. Caxire, what job is that? I teach English to non-native and even native speakers, because a lot of them, for example, Americans may want, some speakers want the British accent, for example, in that sense, or want to learn the differences. For example, instead of, I don't know, as a random example, instead of elevator, you say lift, or instead of apartment, you say flat. Oh yeah, right. You said that. Yeah, instead of apartment, you say flat. In Britain, it's a flat, and a lot of people, for whatever reason in their personal lives, maybe they have, for example, I don't know. I give you a random example without getting into personal stories. Flying Energy has a. I would say apartment. Yeah, that would be American. Hello, Flying Energies. How's it going, man? Old viewer of the channel. He rated me the other day. I I followed him back, of course. Great guy as well. From Germany, I think I read in the description, but you were from the Balkans. Yeah, the case of the apartment, like district precisely. Another viewer of the channel. You would say it's American, but a lot of people, for example, imagine this
I
situation.
don't think they'll expect to find us
You
there.
are
Do
married
you?
It's worth a
to
try. This
your
detective sort
wife
is.
or your husband
But I'd
who
like
is
to work
British
before
and
you
you are
leave.
American. And sometimes you don't understand the things they say, so they come to
Who thought the Lady
people
of
like me,
Shadows would be the key to figuring
to
you
not
out?
to me,
Destiny
to
calls.
the academy I work at Cambridge or Oxford
Now
or
that the
whatever,
truth is out about
and
vampires,
they
there's a shortage of
give
trust.
you. In my case, I
I'm
teach
easy to find it within yourself to
through
try.
Zoom in at home classes. It's better than going. In that sense, I studied at Cambridge,
Not an easy task.
and like that,
Koth behaves
and they want
impeccably.
to understand, for example,
Send you
that
with
when
her
they say
vital
flat, it's
information.
apartment, or when they
Neither
say
one trusts
a
the other.
lift, it's
That's why you
elevator.
must
From
act
the
as an
perspective of
example.
American English, I'm saying this the other way. It would be from the perspective of British English. It would be the other way. And then, of course, non-native English speakers, of course, other Italians, Argentines, South America. Yes, Cambridge. I studied at Cambridge. At Cambridge. The here in well, it's a long story. That's high end. No, the CAE. I passed the CAE at the. It was first try. It was at the age of 18. The first certificate in English at 16, and then the CAE at the age of 18. It was respect unto that. Well, the same for you. If you said you weren't a native speaker, the same for you. The same for you. And
You really think they're trustworthy?
I'm too much
well,
of a
this is
realist
something that a lot of
perhaps
people
to
don't know.
trust,
When we speak
especially after
English
science, but I know their
and it's
intentions
not
are
our
sound.
native language, the same goes the other way around. If English is your
May the
first
force
language
serve you
and you
well out
learn
there.
either my Spanish or French or German or Italian, you are actually forcing your brain to use different parts of it. You're actually forcing the brain to use a different parts. Different parts of the brain produce the different languages. Romance languages, like Spanish or Italian, use a different part of the brain than English. Really, as crazy as it may sound, a lot of people don't know that. I had to know it because it's a topic that you talk about when you teach English. English feels much more fluid in general. It feels more natural because the tone is not in the high or low pitch, because it's not in the high or low pitch. It's constant. English, like Dutch, that is derived from it, it's a constant language. In Spanish, for those of you who don't know, or in Italian, there are more highs and low pitches. British English has a bit more high and low pitches, let's say spikes and lows, than those. But English, as spoken as neutral as possible, and in general, overall, on average, it's a neutral pitched language. In person, sorry, I didn't read you. Yeah, and it's also a quite confrontational language. Impersonal in some ways. It's more constant. That's what I can tell you. I don't know what you mean by confrontational. That kind of like it's kind of like feels more serious, maybe in that sense compared to at least in my experience to Spanish and Italian. That it because it doesn't have the high and low pitches. It's because of that. Because it uses a different part of the brain and a different part of the throat to produce the sounds. It's because of that. It's constant in a lot of cases. Uh, there is no word for please in Danish, if that makes sense. So you Danish? You Danish maybe. Do you know about Chaotic, the trading card game? Do you know about Chaotic? It needs to make a comeback. Yes, some I have a Danish viewer, and I said him the same. that they need to talk to the creator of Chaotic and make a comeback. Amazing series. Amazing series of it had a TV show. It had a TV show. Chaotic. It was the competitor. It was one of the competitors of Yu-Gi-Oh. Amazing, amazing, and it was so ahead of its time. So ahead of its time. Chaotic. So all Danish viewers, please talk to the creator of Chaotic. Tell him to revive it. I think he was going to revive it, but he never did. So I think he never did. So in that sense, great series, Chaotic. Not familiar with that series. Well, you have to watch it more in case you're Danish. You have to watch it. It's amazing. Arthas is my boy, though. Ah, so you like Warcraft? RTS genre? Warcraft 3, maybe? Well, I talked about the story, how it derived from real-time strategy to precisely mmorpg in that sense. So yeah, Warcraft 3, it's a work of art, without a doubt. I used to read all the novels. Yeah, the novel about Arthas, it had a novel. Yeah, I could never get the book. It's quite difficult to get it here. I would have to import it from the US in that sense. But yeah, I saw the novel. And Garrosh, yeah, Garrosh, my best boy. Yeah, he was quite noble in the ending. It was in Warcraft 3 with Thrall, or maybe with World of Warcraft, you mean? Uh, yeah, when he sacrificed the tale of the two brothers when they went up against Manoroth. I think it was the name of the demon, Manoroth. Amazing storytelling. That is something that I have been commenting about Dragon San Juan, the Dark Eye. Another great, uh, another great point that I analyzed is that in that game, in Dragon San Juan, the Dark Eye, in a lot of other games, conflicted fella though. Garrosh was a total Nazi, huge conflicted fella though. Ah, you mean the one from World of Warcraft then? Because the one from Warcraft 3 was quite. He sacrificed for Thrall in the end. If I remember correctly. He sacrificed in the end. Yeah, but up to that point, he made a lot of disasters. Yeah. Pretty much. So that's something that I've been commenting in terms of the analysis, that in a lot of older games, I've noticed there was a game called Dragon San Juan, the Dark Eye, that I play on Tuesdays. It's a clone of Baldur's Gate. It's a classic Dungeons and Dragons game. A character that you meet in the tutorial, in the intro of the game, think about a 40-hour game, then plays a role in the final quest of the game. But not only that, there's a quest that you start at the beginning of those 40 hours and then you end after all of those. So where's the objective? I cannot see. Check and replace faulty fuses here, but what do I have to interact with after those combat trials? So I've been commenting that in modern games, the storytelling is more linear compared to repair the fuse and the balance is that one. It's much more linear in there it is, those wires. Not quite sure I understand. Yes, it's quite more linear. For example, they are like self-contained arcs. Kotor is like that. Imagine, for example, in this game, I'm starting this Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion. Yeah, it starts. The beginning of the plot is self-contained. It starts and it ends kind of like without external influence. In Baldur's Gate, in Drakensang, now I'll read it. In Baldur's Gate, in Drakensang, in all of those, then here it is. You can start a quest at the beginning of the game, but only get
an infestation. If they'd grown any bigger, we'd have more to worry about.
But only meet the character that will solve.
Courtesy, I will take it upon myself to eradicate these hostile stowaways, masters. Once I have gathered additional munitions, I will scour the ship from top to bottom.
You can.
Easy. We can have you blasting through the hull left and right.
Appeasement. I can employ knives and blunt force hits.
HK for the win, people. You can see why.
Make you feel safer.
Always HK for the win.
Next time, you're on cleanup detail.
In those older games, you can start. I'll read the messages. You can start the plot points at the beginning of the game, and then only meet the NPC that will wrap up those plot points by the end of the game. That's something that I don't see in a lot of modern games. For example. They are kind of like self-contained, that's what I would try to say. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 allows us to, like, truly be ourselves. I played Baldur's Gate 3 several times. Such a dope game. No, I haven't played it. Because it's not my taste, the combat style. I think, well, I did a pretty heavy critic, if you like Baldur's Gate. A lot of people hate me because of some opinions regarding those games. David Walgrave, the producer of Baldur's Gate, well, it's an old rant that he changed real-time with post-combat system. I had played Baldur's Gate by them, but Baldur's Gate is a father of all classic RPG games. For those of you who don't know, it's a legend. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. And then in this third one, it's not BioWare, it's Larian Studios, the creators of Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. I did finish Divinity Original Sin 1 to have a correct idea before criticizing the work of precisely Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate 3. And one of my main talk points was I always appreciate conflicting takes. My point is that real time with pause had a component that Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sin, for that matter, and 2, I finished Divinity Original Sin 1, all of the side quests on the highest difficulty before I talked. That's something that I always warranty my viewers, then even if they hate me because of the opinions. Precisely, I finished that one, and the turn-based system lacked the pressure of real-time reactions of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and the same goes for Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. I read an article when I played Hellgate London, I believe. It's the first stream of Hellgate London. I have it over at my vault over at YouTube. And precisely, it wasn't through here. And precisely, Walgrave, the producer of Baldur's Gate 3, when he gave his arguments as to why eliminate real-time with pause, you should try Clair Obscure. It's the new one. Yeah, I watched gameplays. It's turn-based, but you can parry and do all of those things. It's more interactive for a Japanese RPG than the tradition of Final Fantasy and the rest of them. Generally not my... I need one more. That's the problem. The question is where? Well, they gave us a break from combat, people. If you want to see the combat, I've been fighting all the time. Well, yeah, Clair Obscure, I saw it. A lot of great characters. The developers that escaped you. There it is. That escaped Ubisoft, I think. They were ex-Ubisoft developers. But yeah, generally, turn-based is not my personal taste, because there's a story. Do you know if you know a guy called David Brevik, the creator of Diablo 1? Not the only creator, there were several people, but he did a huge development. How real-time was born, real-time combat was born. I told this story several times. It's quite Ubisoft used to be so good. Assassin's Creed Rogue, best Assassin's Creed game. Oh, now that's a conflictive, a controversial take for a lot of people. Won't like that. It's the one about the traitor. I played all of the Assassin's Creed up to the new ones when they changed the combat about to Origins. Yeah. In that sense, well, completing the story of David Brevik, he actually turned. You know that turn-based games actually it's like a stopped clock. And David Brevik, the creator of Diablo 1, that was at Blizzard, he turned the clock down to 0. That's how real-time was born, real-time combat. David Walgrave, the producer, the Templars are easily in the right. Well, anyone in Italy would agree with you. Anyone in Italy would agree with you. yeah, in that sense. But yeah, in that sense, real time. I've explained it. It has a component of reaction, even if you can pause, because in Baldur's Gate 1 you can pause.
What better time? Anyway, where we're going, no one will be looking for criminals. Most of the people there are criminals, which of course presents its own dangers.
It adds a component of pressure and tension to the battles that turn-based simply, at least for me, doesn't put the required pressure for me to enjoy the game in that sense. Regarding Assassin's Creed, well, my favorite one is the second one, of course, because it's well, not only that it's in Italy, but also I think Ezio is very very charismatic. And but I would say that retrospectively, the one that influenced more, that Assassin's Creed 1 was actually fine line to walk. No, even though I would say the most influential one, my favorite one is 2, but the most the one that influenced the gaming industry the most is the first one. You know why? Because they actually scanned Jerusalem.
I want to know more about your relationship with
It's the first game. If my memory serves me right, it's the first game in which the map was scanned by hand by Ubisoft instead of designing it out of the developer's mind without scanning. In that sense, out of nowhere, I think it's the first case. It was meant to be Prince of Persia. Oh yes, Assassin's Creed was groundbreaking. A lot of people don't like it because nowadays it's repetitive. I don't know what you think, Coke, Saya. Uh, that's the thing they don't like, that it's repetitive. Repetitive. In my case, I always mention this: repetitiveness enhances replayability, and when done right, it's an essential component of the level design of a game. Uh, define its generation. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. In that sense, I like the second one more, but the first one was. It's like the people who say God of War 4 is better than 1. Yeah, but back in 2005, God of War 1 was more defining than 4th. Last Assassin's Creed I played was Valhalla. Was it good? Was it good? I didn't play the new ones from the Egyptian one, Origins, Odyssey, Greek one, and then Valhalla. Felt like too much though. I don't like that they gave the role-playing component a predominance that the series wasn't originally known for, and that the combat is way too slow in comparison. It was not. It was not. Yeah, in that sense, I failed the combat. It was quite generic. Yeah, that's the thing.
Was she really dangerous, even as a child?
It turned into a generic RPG. God of War Ragnarok, though, I bet you love that one. I have to play those. I played the original ones several times. I need to play the new trilogy. In that sense. In that sense, I like that they didn't use stamina as a resource. Well, my most probably the opinion everyone will hate me for, and that is the most controversial so far, is that I don't like stamina bars. I don't like stamina bars. Not because I'm bad at games precisely. I won't say I'm good, but I've beaten hard games, and the stamina bar makes the combat so slow, so slow.
Couldn't force them to go. So I left.
And the crazy emperor left them.
Did Valkorion try to stop you from leaving?
No. I'm not sure he even noticed. I transferred to the Knights Enforcement Division and took assignments at the outer fringes of our empire.
Remember, when you read Valkorion, it's more like you can also read Vitiate. Yeah, and I get what you're saying. Stamina is a cope. You played Elden Ring? No, I don't play the Dark Souls games. I could beat a lot of the bosses. I didn't finish them, but it's just that I cannot stand the stamina combat. I have no problem with Sekiro though. With Sekiro, I love it. I think it's perfect because it doesn't have the stamina. I think it makes the combat unnecessarily slow. I think that in turn degrades the fluency, the overall fluency of combat, and that's why I think Sekiro is the best out of all of them, and it's the hardest, according to a lot of Dark Souls experts that I am not. I'm an expert on other genres, but not that one. So, yeah, in that sense, Sekiro's final boss kicked my butt. Well, they didn't get to the end of that, but I could kill the bosses, half of the bosses of the story, pretty much. And I said, well, I wanted to verify, the same with Divinity, Original Sin. When I know that I don't like the genre, I play one with those characteristics, with those features, to see what's the component that makes it either addictive or not, to then say my opinions on stream, because at the end of the, and to find metaphysical reality in that sense. Well, that's the key in that sense. That I think the stamina bar makes combat unnecessarily slow, and I think it gives a lot of players the impression that they are good because they how to manage the stamina bar, and there are much worse things, like for example, any RTS game that is a genre that I love a lot, has a higher APM, actions per minute, rate than most all Dark Souls games. If you ask me what makes FromSoft game great is the philosophical component, or they do have it. They do have it. What philosophy do they have? Well, you can read that I am also a scholastic philosopher in that sense. Part of my law career, I was forced. It was baked into the career. There was nothing I could do about it. Finally, some combat. The artistic expression. Yeah. How they design the bosses. Yeah, I've heard some friends, both online and offline in real life, have told me about it, that they love the designs of the bosses and everything. Yes, amazing. I've seen them, of course, but yeah, the philosophical part of it. Yeah, I give more predominance to the gameplay mechanics when analyzing. Well, you can read my the aspects that I analyze of the game down here in the panels and my crazy stuff. In that sense, well, in terms of real philosophy, I love. Which popular philosopher do you draw most inspiration from in your daily life? Obviously, Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas. Sorry to the people that are conservative philosophers. Yes, every one of my viewers know that I lean conservative. As Italian, it's natural. It's absolutely natural. In that sense, Italian, precisely. Philosophy is based around the inherited Greek philosophers, and of course Thomas Aquinas with how he influenced Roman Catholicism and everything. I'm an atheist, though I accept the positive influence of Roman Catholicism. I think there's a lot of prejudice of that culture, but as I said, I don't believe God exists. I think it's not a totally perfect explanation for the fabric of the universe, but I do recognize that the Roman Empire and all of the Roman Catholic tradition played an integral role in the shaping of our modern Western culture, and I accept the importance that it had. In that sense, it would be Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas. So an Epicurean? No. I would be an atheist realist. An atheist realist, which is very weird because generally realists are aligned with the Catholic portion of the Roman Catholic culture. It's more like a realist, a Thomist, like Thomas Aquinas, but with a bit of influence from another one called William of Ockham that was, let's say, the first relativist in that sense, but didn't get to the extreme of Immanuel Kant in that sense, to the extremes of Immanuel Kant. For me, Immanuel Kant and everything from the 1700s onwards feels extremist because of a lot of several reasons regarding how we define metaphysical reality it feels extremist in that sense. So yeah, pretty much, it would be kind of like recognizing that you can achieve objective metaphysical reality. Nowadays, that is out of the question. It's deemed as impossible because of the influence of Immanuel Kant. It's relative. Considered to be an Epicurean materialist. That's interesting. I don't know what that is. What would it be? What would be more kind of like relativist or realist? Kind of like more. I generally don't fuck with metaphysics. Well, yeah, it's the part that I love. Beyond my your worldview or your worldview, probably the P instead of the beyond your no, yeah, well, I think they are an integral part of the stuff, but yeah. For me, since scholasticism, that is kind of like part of Thomas Aquinas' doctrine. Um, the main core was how the universe exists and how we define metaphysical reality, so it's baked into it. It's kind of like an integral part. So yeah, the metaphysics basically it's moral metaphysics. What he did and what I do pretty much, and I use it to explain precisely the games. For example, well, you can read from my crazy panels. In that sense, for example, I was commenting at the beginning of the stream before I was rated. The key is that a lot of reviewers, for example, mentioned about Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 and 4.0 that I was explaining as the topic, that they mostly say about RPG games that, well, when you have to grind a lot, a game is bad by default. You see it in a lot of game reviews over at YouTube and even written reviews, and you see that opinion, that mental perception a lot, and just because a game is grindy or repetitive or you have to farm a lot is bad by itself. That they assume the player will be bored. And for example, I say, fun is fun. Well, I get to the core of it. Why is it fun? I question the why. Why is and that's the part of metaphysics that maybe gets boring, but that's the thing. For example, I mentioned this when I was playing another game called Secret 2. Repetitiveness is inherently, by that I mean per se, by itself, in the same intrinsic nature of repetitiveness. Intrinsic nature means that the metaphysical entity, in this case the abstract repetitiveness, fun is as the human brain makes of it. Well, that's a relativist perception, precisely. That's a relativist perception in that sense. I reverse engineer that. That's what I do. To precisely, that implies that there's no objective metaphysical reality. Because if the brain makes it, then fun, it's a chemical reaction in your brain. And precisely, trying to find objective metaphysical reality, it's a universal metaphysical entity, part of it. At the end of the day, life is just one long series of distractions. In that we agree all the time. No, I had viewers from all sorts of it. I've had extremely liberal viewers. Some of them could, for example, tolerate this that I just said. Others simply couldn't, and it's perfectly fine. I don't judge anyone for that. I know that for example, that and overall saying publicly that naturally as Italian you lean conservative, for example, saying that fun or that chemical reaction in your brain that gives you that fun, explained for my theory, is not a matter of mental perception. It's something that happens. For example, let's take love. I'm very liberal and I have no issue with what you say. Well, you would be surprised how many people hate me, especially from Poland. Has been my experience that they are sharing of ideas, especially from Poland. I've had 2 Polish viewers, and if there's anyone Polish watching, I won't judge you because of previous experiences, but 2 Polish viewers right now, they are in a very divisive moment. I don't know what's going on, but exclusively Polish viewers have been very. They couldn't even tolerate listening to this. They couldn't tolerate listening. It's not that I said something brutal or what, they couldn't tolerate listening to what I just said in that sense. And there's pretty much nothing I can do. Hey, there's another player there. Look at this. This place is not completely deserted. What I was mentioning, for example, let's take lab, for example, right? With that line of reasoning that you say, lab would be a chemical reaction in our brains. I just like meeting new people and hearing new opinions. Same for me. Same for me. I love it. Well, for example, this. Then I bet you will appreciate this. For example, with that line of reasoning that you said with fun, let's take lab. Lab would be a chemical reaction in your brain, right? It's a big world with so many interesting people. For me, it's absolutely majestic. That's why it's sad for me when people cannot even listen to that. In fact, there are times in which I don't even say that. I just say I am conservative, and that's it. And that's it. Some people assume it's American conservatism. Some others assume it's, I don't know, Nazism or whatever. And pretty much that's the end. I cannot get past that point. But I have some good viewers, my 30 something followers here and on YouTube that are amazing, very tolerant. Love is absolutely just a chemical reaction. Well, I will tell you the realist stance and where that one comes from and where that one, but that don't matter. It's a chemical reaction. Well, it's still good. Well, for example, I don't think it's a chemical reaction, but I'll tell you why. That is a subjective portion of the metaphysical entity you are mentioning as love, right? The chemical reaction in your brain that causes you to love. But the objective meaning is the fact that in the metaphysical plane of time and space, for example, two people hugged, or that they said to each other that they love each other. The act happening in the metaphysical plane of time and space is objectively love. The chemical reaction you have in your brain is a subjective perception you have of it, which is relativism. That's the realist stance. I know it's very weird to listen to this because it's kind of like previous to relativism. Nowadays, our world is dominated by relativism. Why do we feel the appeal in even talking, connecting as we do right now? We're a pack of animals. I think we're not animals because our brain has suffered mutations severe enough. Connecting releases happy chemicals. Yes, yes, I don't deny that there's a subjective portion of it. I do not deny it. But I say that there's also an objective portion and that the predominance of the objective portion is more important because thoughts don't have a physical metaphysical entity. And two people hugging in the metaphysical plane of time and space, the realist portion of the love that your brain is feeling is the portion that is causing it. It's more important because it has a metaphysical entity. Your thoughts don't modify metaphysical reality. They are inside of the consciousness of your brain. Therefore, they are a bit more ethereal, they are more abstract, and two people hugging, at the end of the day, it is affecting the metaphysical plane of time and space. The thoughts by themselves, no. That's what a realist thinker would tell to you. Of course, this must sound extremely weird to everyone listening, because after the 1700s, a person called Immanuel Kant fused mental perception with metaphysical reality. Basically, if we all agree that our chemicals determine what is love precisely, or fun, or whatever, then our mental perception is more predominant than the metaphysical entities that are external to our minds. Well, probably a lot of the rest of the people watching probably think that where have I stumbled upon this channel? It's a crazy. I have arrived to an asylum of crazy people. No, I analyze games from this perspective because this has a lot of consequences. For example, I could say that, I don't know, a terrible game is the best of all time just because my mental perception dictates it. That's what I try to not eliminate, but to give you a different perspective from the side of realism. In my case, I look for objective elements that make the game objectively better through comparisons. Personally, I greatly enjoy all of it. Well, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for it. The rest of the people, please don't think that I'm crazy. I mentioned that I'm a scholastic philosopher. I generally don't talk about this unless. Are you high on speed? No, what do you mean? No, 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 no. I don't drink alcohol. No, 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 no. I don't drink alcohol. No, no,
Don't keep me waiting.
no, not at
Won't be
all.
long.
That's all. I like more sugar. I like more sugar. Chocolates. I like sugar in that sense. Chocolates. I love chocolates. Belgian chocolates that you have there close to you are delicious. Um, in that sense. So yeah, pretty much. I know it sounds very weird, but well, at least my followers and subscribers over at YouTube and here they enjoy how I do, because that has a lot of consequences. I could say that a game is the best of all time. For example, imagine if I say this one. Old school players love it when I bring this example. What if I said that Fortnite is the best game of all time? Just because I tell you that is my opinion, for example, would you accept it? Fortnite or other one? A lot of people would accept it out of courtesy, because we're like, yeah, I feel, yeah, life tends to be much more vibrant when one takes the time to analyze things. No, no worries, no worries. For example, if I say Fortnite is the best game full time, anyone can feel free to participate. Instantly in your mind, you said, well, I don't agree with him, but I'll be courteous. For example, it's his opinion; he's entitled to it, which is perfectly fine. I'm not saying not to respect mental perceptions. Of course, I'm not an asshole or a jackass because I think all of this, because I am a realist thinker. It's just that out of courtesy, probably you won't tell the person that, well, Fortnite was developed some minutes ago. It didn't influence the gameplay mechanics of the genre it belongs to. It doesn't. Porn is a natural thing. I beat my meat like twice a day, like human nature. Well, well, well. But think about the quality of the game in this case. In terms of the mental perception, for example, out of courtesy, you wouldn't tell the person that he's wrong directly, but you would think it most of the time. Why is it? Because deep inside, well, not deep inside, in your subconsciousness, you can get to objective elements as to why Fortnite didn't define the genre it belongs to even, and has a lot of inherited mechanics. There's a game called Fractured during the 7th generation, for example, that the mechanic of building is from there. You can manipulate the terrain. Fractured is made by LucasArts, precisely, by Lucas Games. And like that, it didn't define the genre it belongs to. The abstract complexity of the level design, it's a plain battlefield. Think about the water temple in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, for example. Objectively, it's not necessarily useful, though. That would be a relativist take on it. Completely acceptable. It's what Immanuel Kant would say, precisely what Immanuel Kant would say, and a lot of relativist modern thinkers, without a doubt. Because as I've said, it's fused. The mental perception is fused with metaphysical reality. In that sense, I would say it helps us make comparisons in that sense. Because then, if everything is a matter of opinion, then the majority defines that metaphysical reality, defines metaphysical entities, and at some point there will be a dissociation between the extrinsic existence of metaphysical reality and your mental perception. That's why I would say that objectively is good. For example, if I told you this is a chair, I always make this example. Sorry to Discord members and followers of the channel, they know this example by heart by now. If I told you that this is a chair, for example, we all agree, not just that I told you, we all agree this is a chair instead of a gaming mouse. And the whole world, we convince the whole world it is. Is it then a chair or not? Is it or not? When? Well, a lot of people relativism would tell you from the 1700s onwards that if we all agree, it is. That's a Razer. No, it's a Logitech G900. There you can see it. I just added some anti-sweat stickers. Not that I sweat a lot, but uh, the it's a Logitech G900 Chaos Spectrum, not the new one because there's a 902. Imagine that we all agree that it's a chair. Relativist thinker. I see what you mean, though. Yeah. That a lot of people will say relativist thinkers will say, well, if we all agree it's a chair, then it's a chair. That's it. But I would say the problem is that most people cannot get as to why it is a gaming mouse. That's the problem, because we are not told how to. It is a gaming mouse because it's a specific combination of molecules and particles that objectively arrange themselves in the shape of a gaming mouse.
She'll want to know who I just spotted.
It's not because I think of it as a chair or a gaming mouse. It is its metaphysical existence is extrinsic. It happens outside of our minds, regardless of what we think, for example. And well, that is a conservative stance that a lot of people wouldn't be able to even listen to, for example, nowadays, and I think that's sad. Reality at the end of the day is whatever our brains perceive things to be. Well, precisely. That is, well, but think of it like this. That's the relativist stance of Kant. For example, you perceive it like it, but the fact that you perceive it to be like that, you are fun. Never change. Well, I had a very complex argument, but well, at least I'm happy for that. Never change. Well, yeah, I would say that. Yeah, pretty much. You thinking what it is inside of your brain does not change how the particles arrange themselves outside of your brain. I would just say that. I would just say that. No, and no intention to convince you of otherwise. I've had several viewers, except for the two Polish ones that were a bit aggressive. The rest we could debate without any issues, and it's amazing. And thanks for the compliment. Generally, people cannot even tolerate listening to it. So in that sense, that makes me happy, deeply, because in general, not being able to even listen is the worst part of it, because then you don't even know why the person thinks as they think or whatever. And well, related to game analysis, for example, saying that Fortnite is the best game of all time, I would say it's objectively wrong because the abstract complexity of the level design is 0% compared to The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and the Water Temple, in which you have to go back and forth. There's an element of backtracking in Fortnite, there's no backtracking, and I would argue that that is objective. Like that. And that's how I analyze the rest of the games. And well, that's why even if some people would hate what I say, the developers of Dungeons and Dragons Dragon Shard from California and the developers of Evenkas Rise of the Mage from Austria, for example, thanked me for analyzing the games that way. For example, just as an example, and special thanks to you, Colksire. There, Colksire. I always enjoy a nice debate with all of those things. Oh well. Other things that I analyze, for example, are the influence. For example, the developer of Evenkas Rise of the Mage praised especially he was the level designer of that game. Pretty amazing Diablo clone they did there. And yeah, he thanked me for how I establish the relationship between the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. It's a game in which you can play only as a mage. You cannot pick classes in that sense. And I highlighted that there are narrow passages. That limited your casting time of your spells because you were forcefully a mage, and because of that, since you were limited in a very narrow dungeon in your casting time, the difficulty was derived from the level design rather than the inherent stat system of the game, because you had no room to maneuver and cast the spells, and most of the time you would die because of that, because you were surrounded by enemies and killed. Influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, things like that, for example, in that sense. So well, people, I enjoyed the chat a lot, thanks to um, Kitty Kisses. Thanks to Kitty Kisses for being the 35th follower of the Twitch channel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Always thanks to Discord members. Thanks to Kalksire for all the philosophical exchange and everything. We can debate any day. And thanks in general to Scarlet Dragoon, to Crowbar, to District DSO, to Flying Energies, to all of the old viewers of the channel, to the classic viewers of the channel, and anyone who might have taken time to watch this as a YouTube VOD or a Twitch VOD in the future in general, to all of the people that came from the raid. Thanks to all of you for accompanying me in this 9th day of analysis. We'll leave it here at chapter 7. We are getting close to the end. To the ending, I think, is chapter 13, and we could do a lot today. We'll continue with the metaphysical analysis of Dragon's Song 1, The Dark Eye, on Tuesday. We'll continue with that one. And today we analyzed precisely the influence of farming as a paradigm of the level design in Dungeons & Dragons 4.0 in MMORPGs. And we established the comparisons with precisely Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Sorry if you are a bit late. You have all of the bots in case you want to see how I started playing the game and explain all of this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks, Kitty Kisses, in case you are lurking or something. Then I will return the favor and follow you back. And see you all on Tuesday. It was a pleasure. And special thanks to Carl Sire for the philosophical chat. It's always amazing when I debate this with a lot of the viewers. It happened to me several times, and I always love it. People, this has been my pleasure, and see you all on Tuesday. Have a great night and a great Workers' Day. Happy Workers' Day and um, happy weekend. Happy weekend, and see you all on Tuesday. We'll continue with the analysis of Dragon's Song 1, The Dark Eye. We'll get to the ending, pretty much. Let me check that the connection is working, and there we go. Perfect. There we go. See you all on Tuesday. Special thanks to Discord members, Twitch followers, and before I go, thanks over at YouTube to RPCC Gaming for being the 76th YouTube subscriber, and the 77th. I cannot read your name from here, but I'll display the message on. I'll display both messages on Tuesday. The thank messages for YouTube subscribers. We'll display them on Tuesday. People, it's been my pleasure. See you all on Tuesday. We need to get to the ending and then the final metaphysical analysis. When I finish talking like this, doing the progressive analysis of the games, then I do the final analysis. For those of you who don't know, we'll get to the final analysis of Dragon's Song 1, The Dark Eye. People, it's been my pleasure. See you all on Tuesday. Have a great night. I wish you from Antarctica here. Not Antarctica, close to it. Wherever you are in the world. See you all on Tuesday.